Daf Yomi, Tractate Chullin, page 29b. The last few words that start this idea are actually on the bottom of 29a. The last 2, 4, 7 words are Amar Mar Yachol Lo Merak Yehe Pasul. The Gemara analyzes the statement of Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish. The master says, one might have thought that if the other priest did not complete the cutting of the 2 simanim, the slaughter would not be valid. Okay, and now turning to 29b, top of the page. Im kein havyale avoida be'achel v'tanyo kol avodas yom kippurim. Einan kasherois elaboy. How could that possibly enter one's mind? If that is so, the completion of that slaughter is a temple service performed by another on Yom Kippur, and it is thought in a Braita the entire Yom Kippur temple service is valid only if performed by the high priest. Hachi ka'amar Yachol gehe pasul min Rabbanan Yisrael kedai lechamina Yika pasul min Rabbanan לכך שנינו רוב אחד בעוז ורוב 2 בבהמה ומאחר דאפילו פסולה דרבנן לקה ולמה לי למרק מצווה למרק. The Gemara answers that this is what Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish is saying. One might have thought that if the slaughter was not completed by the other priests, it would not be valid by rabbinic law, as it might enter your mind to say that there is an invalidation by rabbinic law. Therefore, we learned in the Mishnah, the majority of 1 siman in a bird, or the majority of 2 simanim in an animal. The Gemara asks, and since there is not even an invalidation by rabbinic law, why do I need the other priest to complete the cutting of the simanim? The Gemara answers, there is a mitzvah to complete the slaughter ab initio to facilitate the free flow of the blood. Amar b'shimon ben Lakish b'shum Levi Saba Ein l'shchita ela b'basov Rabbi Yochanan amal yesh l'shchita min tchila v'yad sov. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish says in the name of Levi the elder. I wonder if this is Levi the elder is the same as Levi, just regular Levi. Maybe it was Levi, and then when Levi got older, he became Levi the elder. Who knows? I do remember that Levi is talking with Rav, has discussion with Rav, and Rav and Shmuel and Levi, they were in the same area, but not so much with Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish. So if Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish maybe knew him, quote, I don't know, it's a thought, whatever. Okay. Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish mishum Levi Saba. Ein l'shchita ela b'sov Rabbi Yochanan amal. Yesh l'shchita min tchila v'yad sov. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish's name of Levi the elder. Halachic slaughter is accomplished only at its conclusion, and Rabbi Yochanan says halachic slaughter is accomplished from the beginning to the end of the act. Okay. Amar kol moedim echad shachat siman echad goy v'siman echad Yisrael shehi pesula she'arei na'aseh bo ma'aseh tchefa b'yad goy. Rava said in establishing the parameters of the dispute between Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan, everyone concedes in a case where a Gentile slaughtered, meaning cut 1 siman, and a Jew slaughtered 1 siman, that the slaughter is not valid, even if slaughter is accomplished only at its conclusion, as an action rendering the animal a treifa was performed at the hand of a Gentile. Since slaughter by a Gentile is not valid, the Gentile renders the animal a treifa. Be'olat ha'of nami heichel lemarek simon echad lemate v'simon echad lemala v'sula asher ya'aseh ba ma'aseh chatas ha'of lemate. In the case of a burnt offering as well, where 1 siman was pinched by a priest below the red line, marking half the height of the altar in accordance with the procedure of the sin offering, and one siman was pinched above the red line in accordance with the procedure of the burnt offering, the pinching is not valid, as the priest performed an action appropriate for a burnt sin offering below the red line, disqualifying it from being sacrificed as a burnt offering. Okay, below the red line, and the sin offering has to be above the red line. I think, yeah. Appropriate for birth. For a burnt sin offering below the red line, disqualifying it from being sacrificed as a burnt line. Okay. The sin offering is below the red line, and burnt offering is above the red line. Okay. לא נחלקו אלא כגון ששחט סימניך בחוץ וסימניך בפנים למען גם יש לשחית מתחיל יאסוף מחייו למען דאמר אין לשחיתו אלא בסוף לא מחייו. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan disagree. Only in the case where an individual cut one siman outside the temple courtyard and one siman inside the temple courtyard, according to the one who says halachic slaughter is accomplished from the beginning to the end of the act. Meaning Rabbi Yochanan, one who begins the slaughter outside the temple courtyard is liable for slaughter of a sacrificial animal outside the courtyard, according to the one who says halachic slaughter is accomplished only at its conclusion, meaning Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, one who does so is not liable at the conclusion of the slaughter, which is the determining factor, is performed inside the temple courtyard. Amar le Rabba bar Shimi Mar lo Amar Hochi Umanu Rav Yosef Hechi Deshachat Siman Echad בחוץ וסימן אחד בפנים נמי פסול שהרי עשה במסכת עשהו בחוץ. Rava bar Shimi said to Rava, the master did not say that this was the crux of the dispute between Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish. And who is the master? It is Rav Yosef, who says that in a case where one cut one siman outside the temple courtyard and one siman inside the temple courtyard, all agree that the slaughter is not valid and the priest is liable to receive punishment because he performed an action appropriate for a bird sin offering outside the temple courtyard. לא נחלקו אלא כגון ששחט מיעוט סימנים בחוץ וגמרו בפנים למען דאמר יש לשחיתה מתחילה ויאסוף מחייו למען דאמר אין לשחיתה אלא בסוף לא מחייו. They disagree only in a case where one slaughtered the minority of each of the simanim outside the temple courtyard and completed the slaughter inside the temple courtyard, according to the one who says halachic slaughter is accomplished from the beginning to the end of the act, meaning Rabbi Yochanan, one who begins the slaughter outside the temple courtyard, is liable for slaughter of a sacrificial animal outside the courtyard, according to the one who says halachic slaughter is accomplished only at its conclusion, which would be Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish. One who does so is not liable, as he concludes the slaughter in an appropriate place. Okay? Meis Rabbi Zeira Kola Sukim Pom Tchila Rasov Mitam Bigodim. Rabbi Zera raised an objection from a Mishnah in Para 4:4. Anyone who engaged in any part of the rite of a red heifer continuously from beginning to end transmits ritual impurity to the garments that he is wearing, and they disqualify the red heifer for use in the rite if they perform any other labor while engaged in any part of the rite of the red heifer. Eira ba pesul mishchitosam ben koidim pesula ben lachar pesula ena mitam bigodim. Pazo also koidim pesula mitam bigodim lachar pesula ena mitam bigodim. If a disqualification befell the heifer during its slaughter, with regard to all those engaged in the rite of the red heifer, whether they engaged in the rite before the heifer was disqualified or after the heifer was disqualified, the heifer does not render garments that they are wearing impure. Since its slaughter was not valid, it is disqualified from being used as a red heifer, and therefore does not impart impurity. If it became disqualified at the time of sprinkling the blood of the heifer toward the opening of the temple, with regard to those who engaged in the rite of the red heifer before it was disqualified, the heifer renders the garments that they are wearing impure. By contrast, with regard to those who handle the animal after it was disqualified, the heifer does not render the garments that they are wearing impure.
Eira ba pasul mishkita kodim pesula mitamim bigadim la pesula en mitamim bigadim.
Rabbi Zera elaborates, and if you say that halachic slaughter is accomplished from beginning to the end of the act, let the Mishnah also distinguish between disqualification at the beginning and at the end of the slaughter. If it became disqualified during the slaughter with regard to one who engaged in any part of the rite, before it became disqualified, the heifer renders garments that he is wearing impure, and with regard to one who engaged in any part of the rite, after it became disqualified, the heifer does not render the garments that he is wearing impure. Amarava niskan kalashchita kamot shani hasam igalai mitza lemefreya delav shchita hiklal. Rava said, are you saying that the discussion concerns a case where the slaughter was invalidated? There it is different because the matter was revealed retroactively, meaning it was revealed that it was not valid and not a valid slaughter at all, since at no stage of the slaughter was it valid. The heifer does not render the garments impure at all. Amarabe ikashili leman de omar ein od l'shchita ela basof leplog b'chshela deparan kegon tishchatua b'trei gabre de gabre kama lo mitama v'gabre basra mitama. Rava said, in any aspect of that Mishnah that is difficult for me, if any aspect of that Mishnah is difficult for me, it is this that is difficult for me. According to the one who says halachic slaughter is accomplished only at its conclusion, let the Mishnah distinguish between two individuals in the preparation of a fit red heifer, even when the red heifer was not disqualified. Let the Mishnah teach a case where they slaughtered it with two men, as the heifer does not render the first man who slaughters impure, as the slaughter did not yet begin, and the heifer renders the latter man impure. Amar Rav Yosef Trei gabre bechad zibcha kamer bar mina deahu ditanina tizbach shelo yehu shnayim shochetin zebach echad tizbacho shelo yeh echad shochet shnei zebachim. Rav Yosef said, are you saying that the discussion concerns a case of two men slaughtering one offering? Raise difficulties except for that, as we learned in the Braita with regard to the verse, and when you sacrifice a peace offering to the Lord, you shall sacrifice it, tizbachu, that you may be accepted. Leviticus 19, verse 5. The term tizbachu can be divided into two terms. You shall sacrifice, tizbach, and it, who, from the term, you shall sacrifice. It is derived that there will not be two people slaughtering one offering from the full term you shall offer it, tizbachu. It is derived that one person may not slaughter two offerings simultaneously. Rav Kahana said, to explain the derivation of the first Halakha and the Braita, although the term Tizbachu is vocalized in the plural, leading to the conclusion that two people may slaughter the animal together. Nevertheless, because the word is written without a vav, it emerges as a phrase, you shall sacrifice, Tizbachehu. In the singular is written, indicating that two individuals may not slaughter the offering. Amalei Abaye, Lav, Itmar Alam, Amar Rabba Bar Chana, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Zo Divrei Rabbi Lazar Ben Rabbi Shimon. Abaye said to Rabbi Yosef, wasn't it stated with regard to this halacha that Rabba Bar Chana says, that Rabbi Yochanan says, this is the statement of Rabbi Lazar, son of Rabbi Shimon, to be continued on the next daf.